there, time for another Silverbird Selection review, and since there's no games released by Firebird in this packaging beginning with the letters J, K or L, I'm straight onto the letter M, and the only thing I've got to review at the moment beginning with the letter M is Microrhythm, which is a music software utility. I've actually got Microrhythm Plus as well, but I didn't see much point reviewing that until I reviewed the first one. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. It's a Silver Range release, released in 1986. Very common game to find on eBay. Hundreds of copies on there if you look around. I think no one's really interested in it anymore, as you might expect, because music software has come a long way since then. My copy I picked up for £1 many moons ago. So let's take a look at the game. I should probably warn you up front. Firstly, it's not really a game, it's more of a utility. But I'm not really a very musically minded person, so whatever I come up with on this bit of software is probably not going to be very good. But let's take a look at it anyway. Starting as always with the packaging then, and here's the front cover of the game. Nice logo and a nice image of a guy playing the drums. It looks like he's playing it with a hammer there though, that's a bit peculiar. And also he looks a little bit like a zombie, so he's a bit of a maniacal drummer, shall we say. Spine has got that logo on again, and you can see the image wrapping around in the background. There's the rest of the drum on the back. A couple of screenshots, but to be honest there's not much to see here. Some kind of text there, and also what I suspect is the loading screen, so I imagine we'll be seeing that in a second. And in terms of the blurb about the game, unfortunately someone stuck an horrible sticker over it at some point in the past, but I think that says dig the beat on this digitized drum machine or something like that, so we get the idea anyway. Moving inside, and we have the list of Firebird Silver Range games available in the annoying non-alphabetical order that we saw in earlier versions of the packaging. The usual in-crowd thing as well, which seemed to disappear off the packaging further down the line. That confirms this is an earlier release, and as you can see there, Microrhythm is copyright 1986 Simon Pick, who did quite a few games for the Commodore 64 as well as this music simulator program. So it tells you what Microrhythm is, which is basically a drum machine bit of software. Got the loading instructions, and then it's got some very comprehensive instructions about the different modes you can use in the game. There's 3 different modes, we'll get into that in due course. All the different keys for the different instruments, how you can create tracks and songs and things like that. Lots and lots of info, nearly 2 pages of instructions, which I'm not going to read through obviously. I'll go through some of the basics when the game loads. Keep calling it a game, it's not a game. So as predicted, here's that loading screen that we saw on the back cover of the packaging, which is pretty nice. It's a robot, it looks like, playing the drums, which is probably signifying that it's an electronic computerized drum machine, I suppose. And then we've got, for some reason it's in space, there's lots of stars in the background and a nice picture of the Earth as well. So yeah, it's pretty nice. It's got a nice Firebird logo on the drum kit as well. That's pretty cool actually. So the program's loaded, and it does flash up a title screen very briefly, but that's disappeared, so I can't show you that. So you're presented with this sort of utility screen, I suppose is the best way to describe it. I'll explain the top and bottom of that screen in a moment. The first thing you can do though is you can just get it to play a demo. I'm just checking the instructions to remind myself how you do that. You press F1 and then you press S, and it will give you a demo of the song that's kind of built in. Now I've had to ramp the volume up really high because this uses nothing but samples. There's no SID sounds, it's only samples it uses. So those tend to be very quiet on my particular version of the Commodore 64. So I've had to ramp the volume up. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Let's give it a try. So it basically gives you a demonstration of what you can create with this program if you're dedicated enough. I'm not that dedicated, so you press S to stop that, I think. No? Yes, you do. There we go. So basically the composition side of things, there's 3 modes. Now there's a real-time mode, which you can enter by pressing F3. That just gives you a blank screen and the ability to press all the keys that generate a drum sound, which is all the top row of the keyboard, so the whole QWERTY row all the way over to the up arrow, I think. Each one gives you a different instrument sound. The different kinds of things, so just to give you a few examples, this is a cowbell apparently. This is a clap, tambourine, various cymbals, and a gong. So pretty nice samples there, but that's not really what we're here for. Let's try and compose something at least, even though I'm not going to be very good at it. So the top half of the screen is the bar right mode, and you've got 99 bars, I think, that you can choose from. So let's just switch to that. The little arrow next to the words says which mode you're in, so there's bar right and song right. So the idea is the top half, you compose bars of music, which you can do however you like by putting the different instruments into the little boxes that go across the screen. You can see the first one's highlighted there. I'll just move across the row here. You can see it's highlighting the different instrument sounds in each one. You can play that bar by pressing S. And most importantly, you can also edit the bar. Now, as I said, there's hundreds of bars, well not hundreds, but at least 99 of them, I think. So if you type a different bar number in, you get a different bar, a different set of tunes. So there's a different one. And that noise you can hear, the sort of pinging noise, is the metronome. So let's just switch that off. That's what it sounds like without the metronome. That's to keep time. You can change the speed, you can change the pitch of the instruments with various key controls, and you can also add flam, which is like echo to certain notes. So let's just add flam to the note that's highlighted at the moment. See if you can tell a difference when I do that. So if I put the flam on that, well, let's play it without first. And now let's put the flam on that note in the middle there and play it again. Not a lot of difference, to be honest. That's because I don't really know what I'm doing and I don't know what to put flam on. So yeah, there's loads of bars. Goes all the way up to 67 at least, probably 99. Yeah, you do have 99 bars. A lot of them are empty. If we go back to the beginning, you can also wipe out what's already there by starting it playing. Well, space actually wipes the instrument out, and if you start it playing and hold the space bar down, it actually wipes all the notes out. So that's quite a nice easy way to get things started. So what I'm going to do is wipe out the first couple of bars. There we go, that's probably good enough. And then you can start to compose your own sounds, and you do that by putting in whichever sound you want into one of these boxes, and then by pressing the appropriate key on the keyboard. So we do 2 bass, we could do a snare, another snare, perhaps a cymbal, and then let's put the, what's that, the cowbell? Let's put the cowbell in there. So if we then play that, switch the metronome off. So not very exciting, but let's put the whole sequence in again. It was over here somewhere, wasn't it? Might not be quite the same, but that'll do. Play that. And that's how you start to build up your sort of drum sequences. So when you've done that, you can then go into the songwrite mode by pressing F1, and you can type in the bars that you've composed above into this to make a long sequence of bars that obviously make up a song. So if I move along this list, you can see this was the default song that came when the game loaded. You've got 2 of bar 7, 25, 2 of 7, 2 of 25, back to 7, and a few zeros, and so on, all composing a huge song. So again, we can wipe those out. You can see they're gradually disappearing, clear out the song and create our own song. So that's sort of how it works. None of this would be possible without me having the instructions, because there's no instructions on how to use it within the program. So yeah, without the instructions you're in pretty big trouble, but I guess the point is you're supposed to buy the game legally and get the instructions. So what I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time putting some drum sequences together, create a little song out of it and then play it to you. You don't really need to see me doing that, it's going to be quite dull and I don't really know what I'm doing, so it could take ages. So I will come back in a few moments with my completed masterpiece. Okay, so I've had a bit of a play around, created 4 different bars of drum sounds and also put them into a song. It's not going to be very good, but first I'll play you my 4 different drum sounds. So let's just switch to bar right mode. This is the first one. Move on to the second one. And here's the third one. Sounds remarkably similar to the first one I did, to be honest. And fourth one. And finally, I did do 5. I think I said 4 then, but I did do 5. So you can probably tell from that I don't really know what I'm doing with drum sounds, but I've created some repetitive rhythm sounds which I've then put into a song, which I shall play for you. So let's move to songwrite mode and play this song. There you go, there's my song. Amazing, eh? So as you can probably tell, I'm not much of a musician, but I did have a good play around with it, so I can at least formulate some kind of opinion about the thing. And there were quite a few other features that I didn't talk about, things you can do to change various parts of the song that you create, such as the speed, the length of flam when you're doing the echo and things like that. So it's got plenty of features if you're into that kind of thing. If you wanted to make electronic drum music, then it seems to be a pretty good tool to do that. There's also the facility to load and save songs, so that's really useful. Again, if you were into this kind of thing, you could create your music, save it, load it up on a friend's computer and what have you. So it's hard to put review scores on this really, because I'm comparing it to games and my normal categories for the different review scores don't really line up with the utility, but I'm going to do my best to do that anyway. So for packaging, I thought it was decent. The artwork was pretty nice, very detailed instructions and comprehensive, and you absolutely need them if you're actually going to use this utility. So I'm going to go with 7 out of 10 for the packaging. Presentation, a bit hit and miss. I think it's very basic presentation, which is all you really need for utility, but the lack of any instructions of how you do stuff on screen within the utility is probably a little bit frustrating. So I'm going to go with 5 out of 10 for presentation. Graphics are basically non-existent, it's just some text and a few boxes, so 2 out of 10 for the graphics. Sound, well obviously this is all about sound, and the sound very much depends on how talented you are in getting decent sounds out of it. But the samples are pretty decent, some of them are a bit weedy, some of them like the cymbals and the gong and things like that were quite good. So I'm going to go with 7 out of 10 for the sound, and playability doesn't really apply, so all I can do instead is say usability. So the normal playability score replaced by usability, I'm going to say 5 out of 10 for that. I think it's pretty good if you're into that kind of thing. I'm not really a musician, I'm not really into making drum loops and things like that, so it's not really for me, but I can appreciate that it's, once you get into it, it's fairly easy to use and a pretty good utility. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for the playability. So the total score I'm giving this one is 5.5. And although it's not for me, and I wouldn't have been interested in it even in the 80s, I do think it would have been worth the $199 asking price. So this is a bit of an anomaly in as much as it's not something I'm really interested in, but I can see the value in it. So hope you enjoy this. Not really the normal kind of review I would do. I'm more of a gamer than a musician, so I'll get back to a game review next time around. But if you had any thoughts about this utility, you used it in the past and you've got anything good out of it, then feel free to share a link to any music you've created with it. And if not, then ignore this review and we'll move on to the next one within the next few days. Thanks for watching and see you next time.